Hello everyone, welcome to Saturday Night SQL Virtual Group webinar. Sorry, I'm trying to show my screen here. Okay. My name is Sarah Huang. I'm the founder and organizer of this virtual group. And today, as you know already, Reza Red will present 10 amazing things about Power BI you don't know. We really appreciate Reza take the time to share his knowledge with us, especially his Sunday, his time. And let me go through the past community news first, then I'll transfer screens over to Reza. Past 2017 Passion Award. This award is for volunteers who demonstrate exceptional dedication to and enthusiasm for the past community. The deadline for the nomination is on September 1st, 2017. And past Summit 2017 is from October 31st to November 3rd. If you haven't registered, please use this discount code for $150 discount for the registration. The code is VC15QVS7. Past BA Day is on October 3rd, 2017 in San Diego. And if you are interested, please check it out. Well, 2017 past director at large election. I think this one probably is over because it says October 20 open from August 16 to 25th. And PASS is looking for visionaries to serve on the PASS board. This is what the PASS is looking for, and the duties. PASS is also looking for your input for the right people to serve on PASS board of directors. Feel free to send your input to governance@pass.org. This is our future virtual group meetings. So in September, which is next week, Eugene is going to present Power BI internals, a deep dive. In October, Michael is going to present getting started with Git and GitHub. And November, Aaron is going to present a query store, answering the question, what happened with the query store. If you are not a PASS member, please join PASS. And once you're joined, we have many virtual groups. You may join as many as you would like, and the membership is completely free. Once you join these virtual groups, you'll get an email about each virtual group's monthly meeting notification. This is a SQL Saturday. I guess today is the last one in Vancouver. This is how you connect with the PASS through Facebook and Twitter, and also you this is the Twitter handle. If you would like to ask questions or say like interact directly with Reza, you may click this little hand button and we'll unmute you so that you can talk to Reza directly. Otherwise, you can put your question in this little chat window. I'll read your questions to Reza. Okay. Now I'm gonna transfer screen over to Reza. Thank you so much, Reza, to spend time and present for our chapter.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for explanation. Great introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I do start. I can see we have 24 people already joined. Thank you, everyone, for joining my session Saturday night. It is Sunday noon, my time, actually. I'm living in New Zealand, based in Auckland, far, far, far away. And it is Sunday, 1 p.m. already, so I'm living in the future. If you want to know what is tomorrow weather like, it's quite sunny here. All right, it's a little bit about me. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP about, I think, 7 years now, and I'm author of some SQL Server BI books, also a Power BI book, which is available for free. It's 1,000 pages already. It's a PDF free available in my blog, so make sure that you check it out. And these are my contact information. As I said, I'm based in New Zealand, Microsoft certified trainer, professional, and also trainer and consultant in Power BI. So trained more than 1,000 people in last few months only on Power BI. Agenda of the talk today. So today I will show you 10 amazing things that you don't know about Power BI, and those 10 amazing things that I can show you, I will show you are these. I'll start with a real-time dashboard, and then I'll explain about how to create mobile reports. I'll explain about Power Query structured columns, what is the new what if parameters. This is one of the most up-to-date features of Power BI desktop. I'll show you some custom visuals examples. I'll talk about maps in Power BI, especially ArcGIS maps. I'll talk about rollable security and how to do dynamic rollable security. I'll explain about analysis services live connection, how it would work. I'll explain about sharing methodology called Power BI app, and I'll explain about Power BI embedded, which is embedding your Power BI content into an application. So it's 10 different things, all of totally different components of Power BI. So we cannot go through every individual one of these components, explaining in details how to do the things. So I will just show you the feature and the functionality, explain it, how it works, but I will not exactly demonstrate how this is implemented. In terms of learning how it is implemented for every single one of these that you see in this demo, I have written a blog post, at least one blog post, that explain that in details how to do that thing. So there are some links at the end of this slide deck which you can use and follow and find the blog post related to this and learn that in details. So starting with real-time dashboard. In Power BI, in addition to creating dashboards and reports on top of your normal data sets, you can also get data from a real-time data set. There are 3 types of sources for real-time data set. One is Azure Stream Analytics. The other one is PubNub. These are 2 data streaming services. And REST API is an API that you can work with C# or VB.NET and send some data entries to Power BI. So I want to show you the REST API approach. I do have an application which I would just run it. I'm not going to explain what this application does. I'm going to just run it and show you the effect of this application in the Power BI dashboard that I have. Before the application runs, I'll show you the Power BI dashboard. So this is a Power BI dashboard that I have at the moment. And in this Power BI dashboard, I I have a line chart that shows a value through the time. At the moment, as you can see, this line chart is static, nothing changed here. But from this application, when I click on push data, I will be sending data entries. Oops. Okay, so something I think is probably wrong here. So let me just check it out for a second. So I should be sending data entries right to this data set. So you should see that immediately the effect of that. I think probably, oh, the password is wrong. So, okay, I'm going to change this password. I'm just going to change that in another screen because I don't want to show all of my password here. So I will just change my password in a second and I will run it again. Okay, I run the application one more time. So this application, when I start the application, it will start sending one data point at a second to that data set, and we should see slowly these data sets loading with data. So you can see we have 3 data points now, 4 data points, number 5, 6. So these are coming every second. I have a new data points coming, and you can see this line chart showing as these data points coming through, one at each second. So the way that it works, it's as I said, application, C# application, sending data, 1 entry at a second, and Power BI shows that real time. There is no extra time for refresh. There is no extra time for processing anything. Data will be streamed here, and it will be showed here directly. So that was data streaming with Power BI. So let me go to the next example. For all of these, at the end, we will have some time for Q&A. The next part is Power BI mobile reports. Power BI is a report that you can build this, and it works perfectly for mobile. But let me show you a specific situation that you need to be careful when you are doing Power BI mobile. So in this Power BI desktop, you can see now my Power BI report, and this is the sample Power BI report. If I publish it into Power BI website, everyone will see that exactly like this. If I open it in Power BI app in mobile, it will be also opened exactly like this in a landscape mode, not in a portrait mode. And in a landscape mode, consider this whole screen into a Power BI mobile screen. It's really small. And it is really hard to use your finger to select a particular area of that. So instead of using this view for mobile, there is another view. So if you go to View tab, let me just enable my zooming tool. If you go to View tab, in View tab, in Phone Layout, you should be able to see a layout for phone, which you can design your report for phone. As you can see, this is a specific designer for phone. I can drag things from my normal report into here. I can make this much bigger. I can put things after each other. This will be a portrait mode, not landscape mode anymore. And I can design it exactly as I want. So I can make it bigger, so it is now much easier with finger to screen, to touch the screen and select particular area. So this would be my mobile report. That would be my desktop report. Both are the same report, but if I open it in mobile application, I would see it differently, which is much better in terms of the ability to use the smartphone for it. So always remember that design your reports for mobile as well if you are considering some mobile users. Okay, that was point number 2. Point number 3 is Power Query structured column. Power Query is a data transformation component of Power BI. You can connect to many data sources. You can start doing data manipulation, data transformation, and there are many data transformation components in Power Query. I'm going to show you one specific feature of that, which is called Power Query Structure. So when I connect from Power Query, so let's say if I go to get data from SQL Server or a relational database, as an example, I'm connecting to my local database, and I'm connecting to AdventureWorks example dataset, just one of the tables, like dim customer. If I click on Edit, I'm going to Power Query Editor or Query Editor window. So this is Query Editor window. In Query Editor window, you can see each table, the data, sample data in each table, and some information. So these are all normal features. One of the things that I'm really interested to show you today is these last few columns in Power Query. These are called Power Query Structure columns. These are columns that you don't see a single value in these columns. You will see different things. You will see table, you will see record, you will see a list. These are not like other columns. In other columns, I do have values, static values, but here is different. So what are these columns? This table is a SQL Server database table, and it is related to some other tables. As an example, there is a column here called geography key. Geography key is a relationship with another table called dim geography. In the database side, there is a relationship between these two tables. The thing is that Power Query is so smart that it will understand the relationship, and it will bring that relationship separately as a different column. We call these relationship columns. It's a column that creates a relationship between this table and the other table. So how you can understand this relationship, if you click on this expand button at the top, you can select from the fields from the other tables. So these are fields from dim geography table. And I can select any of these that I want. So for example, if I unselect these and just select city and state province name, press OK, then it will merge those two tables together automatically without me doing anything, without me writing any single line of code. It will merge them together and will bring city and state related to that particular customer for that record. The second customer, another city and state. And if I right-click on this step and view native query, I will see that the actual T-SQL statement includes the inner join for the relationship. So one of the very powerful features of Power Query is this ability to use the relationship columns or structured columns. Structured columns is something that you can expand to individual records, or you can aggregate the individual records from there. Okay, so that was number 3 feature I wanted to talk about. Talking about number 4 features. Number 4 feature is one of the very new features of Power BI Desktop. It is introduced earlier August, and the latest version of Power BI Desktop has this feature. It is called What If Parameter. What If Parameter is a way of making your queries to be dynamic, your DAX queries, your DAX expressions to be dynamic. I'll show you an example, and then we will see how it is working. Right. So I have a Power BI Desktop file. Let me bring it here. So this is a Power BI example that I used for customer retention. So one of the use cases that you can use DAX for is you can use it for customer retention. As an example, I have some customers who purchased some of my products through the time, and I want to know, are these customers lost customers or new customers? There are different ways of doing these kind of configurations. One of them is, one easy way of that is that I can understand how much customer is purchased altogether through the time, and I can consider purchase of the last period sales. Right, so the last period sales, I can understand how much is purchased. Then based on comparison of these two, I can understand, is this customer a lost customer or a new customer? So here what it says is that if the period, the last sales period is something like, for example, 800 days, all of my customers lost because no one purchased anything in the last 100 days. But if I change it to be 1200 days, then majority of my customers are not lost, but I still have some lost customers. Like, for example, Aaron Allen here is an example of a lost customer. He hasn't purchased anything in the last 1200 days. How this what if parameter works? What if parameter is something that you can easily go to modeling and create a new parameter. As I said, very new feature in Power BI Desktop. You create a new parameter, you specify some configuration for that, you put a name for this, you put a data type, it can be whole number decimal or fixed decimal. Minimum and maximum, you can tell how incremental of that works. So here for my example, I put minimum 800, maximum, I don't know, 3000 something, increment one at a time. You can put default value as well. As soon as you create that, there will be a new table generated with those values, and you can see there will be a measure automatically created with the measure value is selected value of that parameter. So as soon as you select that parameter, this measure value also changes. So this here shows the measure value. So you can see when I change it, it will show directly that. So then I will use this selected value measure in another measure to make my query parametric. So in fact, in sales here, I do have another measure. And in this measure, I'm using that selected option here, that it shows that based on this selected option, do this calculation. I'm not going to explain what this calculation does. This is mainly about creating a logic for finding out how much was the sales in the last period. If you want to know more about that, I have already written a blog post about it, so I said that it is already all explained for free in my blog. Make sure that you check it out. So that was number 3. Before going further, there's a question. I can have a look. What is the question? So there's a question from Debbie or from Sruthi. How do I remove duplicate rows in a merged table that is in direct query mode? Every time I try that, it says I cannot be done unless unless I change it to import mode. So a very good question. Power BI allows you to do direct query connection and also import data connection. When you do direct query connection, then you will lose majority of features that you have in Query Editor in Power Query. One of those features is also this one. So if you have duplicate rows as a result of merged tables, then you have to handle that in your database side. So if you are using direct query, then you have to write a view or a stored procedure that merge these two tables together, remove duplicates. In SQL, you can remove duplicates with distinct, with group by, with any of these you can remove duplicates, and then use that view or stored procedure as a source in Power BI. Especially view should be much easier because with direct query you can use that easily like a normal table, because you cannot use Power Query features. You can only use Power Query features when you have import data. So that's the only option. If you are working with direct query mode, then you have to do all of your data transformation in the data source. That's the preferred approach. Let me know if this didn't answer your question. I'll continue. The next option I want to talk about is custom visuals. Custom visuals is one of the very important features of Power BI. Power BI team actually they released some SDK that you can create a Power BI custom visual yourself, or any other companies they can create that themselves. And we already have over 103 custom visuals available in the list of custom visuals in Power BI. These are in addition to those normal custom visuals that we have in Power BI Desktop. So in Power BI Desktop, as you can see, we have these built-in visuals. So custom visuals are not these. Custom visuals are a separate set of custom visuals. So to find custom visuals, you can easily go to a store office.com. Go to Power BI section, and you will have a list of all Power BI custom visuals here. So you can click on one of these categories, remove the category title. This will show you that we already have 103 custom visuals available. There are custom visuals for many things. One of them is, for example, for Visio, very useful, shows you the diagram and you can have color coding on that. There are many custom visuals which are really useful. Like, for example, tachometer is really good KPI visualizations. Chiclet slicer is very good custom visual for showing images in the slicer. There are also a number of types of maps available. Custom visuals with R, very useful. And there are a number of visuals that are quite useful as well. I'm going to show you one of these visuals in my workspace. I have created a report for car accidents. So this report that you can see, let me full screen that. So this report that you can see is about the number of accidents happened on a car exterior body. And you can see that I visualized this in a car exterior body. This is a Power BI report, fully interactive. I can click on somewhere and see the result on other areas. This slicer is also a specific thing. You can see images on a slicer. So in this report, I have two custom visuals. One custom visual is this slicer that has images in it. This is called Chiclet Slicer, built by Microsoft team themselves. Another custom visual is this one that you can see the car exterior body color coded on this. This is called Synoptic Panel and built by the team, SQL BI team, Alberto Ferrari, Marco Rosso. They have built some really cool custom visuals. This is one of those Synoptic Panel. What it does, you can import your own image into this visual, design regions. For example, you can say this is bumper, this is windscreen, this is door. You can design these regions and put a name for this, and these names should be matched to your data points. And then while it is matching, then you can see these results here. You can also have some color coding. For example, if number of that measure is more than a specific value, then show it as red, otherwise amber, green. You can have up to 5 different areas. So I'm just showing these visuals to you to give you some understanding what can be done with Power BI. Power BI is not just about tables, bar chart, column chart. That is something you can do in majority of the cases. With using of custom visuals, you can change your visualizations in a way that be much more effective than the normal visualizations. If you compare this with the bar chart that I have in this report, they are showing the same thing, but that one is much more useful compared to this bar chart. So always think about how to make your visualizations more effective, more useful with some changes in it. So this was just an example. As I said, every single one of these is in my blog post. Even this example, make sure that check it out. I explained in details from the beginning to the end how to use this, even with the sample data set. So make sure that check it out. You don't have to pay anything. It is just all free blog post. You can go through that. Okay, before going to number 6, is there any other questions I can go through? It seems there is no other questions. Okay, so I'll just continue on number 6. So number 6 is maps in Power BI. Power BI gives you ability to create different types of maps. At least 5 different types of maps is available. If we count them all, it will be more than 10. But I'm saying 5 because 4 of those are built-in visuals in Power BI. The last one is custom visual. Custom visual itself can be 4 or 5 different types of visuals itself. So I'm not going to talk about all of these. If I want to talk about maps in Power BI, it will take a couple of hours itself to go through all different types of maps. I'm going to show you one of these custom visuals called ArcGIS. ArcGIS is a really powerful custom visual. Let me close some of these windows. and open that ArcGIS example. ArcGIS is one of the really good map visuals built for Power BI. It's a map visual that is collaboration efforts of two companies, Power BI team in Microsoft and the ArcGIS team in Azure. So these two companies collaborated with each other, built a really good Power BI component visual called ArcGIS Visual for Power BI. So this report that you can see right now is a report of some earthquakes happened in New Zealand. So if you haven't happened to be in New Zealand, I just visualized 2015's earthquake in New Zealand, and these has happened in 2015. It's not all earthquake; it's just some of those, and it was 20,000 records itself. So it has all earthquakes. Then I filtered out and just I'm showing those earthquakes that their magnitude is greater than or equal to 5.5. So that's a very simple map visual. Now I'm going to change it to ArcGIS to just show you how ArcGIS maps works. Esri is a company that works with Microsoft to build this ArcGIS. So this is the normal view of the ArcGIS map. Now I'm going to show you what is a specific feature of that. If I go to edit mode for this visual, I can specify a base map for this. And this base map can be anything, like a street map, like a dark gray canvas. I can choose a map theme for this. This can be a location only, size, or a heat map. Or I can choose a clustering. Then when I zoom out or zoom in, it will consider those clusters changing. Depends on what type of theme you choose, then you can choose the symbol style. So if I choose heat map, I can change the code, the color code for that. You can also add some pins. For example, a pin for a location in Auckland, a location in somewhere else in New Zealand. This is the map of New Zealand. Also, for those of you might not be sure where New Zealand is, some people think that New Zealand and Australia are quite close. You can see that we have quite big Tasman Sea between us. It's 4 hours flight time, at least, from Auckland to Sydney or Canberra, closest cities here. So we are quite different, totally separate countries. Okay, one of the very important features here is reference layer. So if I go to reference layer, I can add more information to this map. At the moment, this is just a normal ArcGIS map, which shows me heat map of earthquake. In reference layer, you can see that I can choose other types of maps which might not be in my data set. It is just something different, like for example 2016 average USA average household income or diversity index, or a lot of maps like that. Or I can search in the directory of ArcGIS for a map in New Zealand, because this is New Zealand data, so I'll search for a map in New Zealand. You can see how variety of maps I have. New Zealand schools, cell phone towers, traffic camera location, one of the most useful ones, New Zealand roads, highways, pipeline stations, gas stations, everything that you might imagine. ArcGIS already have a map for this. And you can use any of these maps for free. It's one of the very powerful features of ArcGIS. So because this was in 2015, and in 2015 in New Zealand, we had Cricket World Cup, so I'm just searching for cricket. This is Cricket World Cup 2015 venues. When I click on that, it will bring those venues. So these stars that you can see on the map right now, these are Cricket World Cup venues. Now I can analyze how close these earthquakes location was to some of Cricket World Cup venues. Obviously, I don't have the precise time of the Cricket World Cup games, but if I had that, then that would be really fantastic visualizations. But even without having that, I can have an extra layer on my visual, as you can see here, without having information about Cricket World Cup. I actually added that in my map, and it will show me this information. So there are many useful information in this type of map that you can use. And the last but not least is that you can use this map with a time field. With adding the time field, it zooms out. So I have to zoom it again. And I just play, and you will see that through the time how these earthquakes happen. So it will show you through the time playing of this numbers on a map that I have. It's a very powerful map visual. As I said, there are a number of different visuals in the map. This is one of really good visuals. It still has some bugs, so when you start working with that, you might get some errors, issues, things like that. So I always recommend saving your model before working with this, saving your Power BI desktop. Very useful, very powerful visualization. Highly recommend. Okay, so that was number 6 in the list of 10 amazing things you don't know about Power BI. So continuing on this, number 7. Before talking about number 7, any other questions? I don't see anything in the list in chat window. No? Okay. So I'll continue. Thank you. I'll continue. So governance with Power BI app. So creating content in Power BI is one side of things. Then sharing it with others is another side. So how I can share Power BI content with others? There are different methods for sharing. At least there are 6 different ways of sharing content in Power BI with others. I'm not going to talk about all of those. I'm going to talk about Power BI app. Power BI app is a way that you can share content with your organization or with a specific group of people. They will be able to consume your reports. They will be readers of your report. They will be still able to interact with the report. Click on that, highlight, and not make changes, but be able to filter, slice, and dice, but not changing your report. Whenever your data set refresh, they will also see the refresh data. It's full governance around it. You can always manage the refresh. You can always manage who has access to this. And you can also have a group of people who have access to update the content. So let me show you an example of that. In my dataset, in my Power BI website, I do have a workspace. So workspaces are locations that you can share content with others. So I have a Power BI workspace here called Past Saturday Night Virtual Chapter. And in this workspace, I have a report, a single report, and a data set for that. So when I want to publish this report to others, I simply click on Publish App. I put some explanation about this. This is the content for SQL Saturday Night Virtual Chapter. I put a background color. For example, you can see this green one is a background color. Oops, sorry, I have to select the content as well. Then in the content selection, I will see all contents. I will specify a landing page for this. And then I will mention that who has access to this. I can put it for entire organization or a specific group of people. Let's do entire organization. After publishing this, then other accounts should be able to access this. So from my other account now, I will go to Apps section, Get Apps. I will be able to see everything that is shared with me. So this is Past Saturday Night Virtual Chapter, as you can see. I can click on it. It will show me explanation, who has created this one, what is the version of that, when it was updated. I click on Get It Now. Then this app will appear here. When I click on this app, as a user, I can see that landing page, that report, and any data sets, reports, dashboards, anything else that is shared there. So you can see this is the same report, fully interactive. I can click highlight. I can change the filter. Everything is fully possible. But what I'm not able to do is I cannot edit the report because I'm consumer of the report. So I would only be able to slice and dice the data, play with this report, use it in a reader or consumer view, but not changing it. However, the app, the person who created that app, that person can give some others ability to edit content here. So if I add some other members to this group, they are able to edit the content here. So you get full benefit with this way of sharing. So I always recommend this architecture for sharing. Some people, some developers working with a workspace together, then that workspace usage can be shared with some test user with dashboard sharing. Then the one that I just explained to you was sharing with publishing a Power BI app, which is the replacement of content pack, which was before. That's the method of sharing. Number 8 in the list is Power BI Embedded. With Power BI Embedded, you can, this is also another way of sharing content with others. Power BI Embedded is talking about sharing content with others through a web application. So you can bring your Power BI report inside a web application. Just before I go further on that, there is a question from Rose. Is Workspace free to use in a company? Good question. No, Workspace is not free. You have to have a Power BI paid subscription, so it should be either Power BI Pro, which is $10 per user per month, or it should be Power BI Premium, which is 5K per node per month. So it should be one of these. Any sharing features in Power BI requires a paid subscription. There is no free sharing method in Power BI except publish to web. And publish to web is not secure at all, so I'm not recommending using publish to web for sharing company data. It is mainly just for public data if you want to share. Any other ways, you have to pay for that feature. Okay, so going back to Power BI Embedded. Power BI Embedded is ability to embed a particular report, dashboard, tile of Power BI into a web page. How this part works, I can show you an example of that. The example that I'm showing to you is an existing example of Microsoft. They have built this demo page. So in this demo page, I can click on Embed Sample Report. It will just show you how a sample report will be embedded into Power BI. It will take a little bit of time. Let me just run this. Power BI Embedded is totally on a separate license. So if you are interested in talking about licensing of Power BI Embedded, we can talk about that in Q&A section. So you can see this is a report. This is a Power BI report, a sample Power BI report, fully interactive. I can click on area and it will change that selection. I can click on another area, fully interactive, and it is quite fast as well. I have access to filters if there is any, changing filters, changing slicers, changing pages. There are different pages in this one. So very powerful, let's say Power BI visualization and report loaded inside a web application. So this page that you can see is a web application. How this embedding works, there's a JavaScript code. You can see this JavaScript code. So this page as a sample will give you that JavaScript code as well, which you can use and embed Power BI report into your application. This is one of the most powerful features of Power BI because you can embed Power BI content into your application and share it with others. The great feature here is that then other users don't need to have Power BI accounts. They can have accounts from your application that you have created. From your web portal, you can create some accounts, give it to them. It will support role-level security. It will support everything that is mainly related to Power BI reports. There are some functionalities that is not still working, like Q&A or things like that, but those are in future plan of embedding Power BI content. Also, this can be embedded in an edit mode as well. So if I click on edit mode embedding, then you can see that this report now has the ability to be edited as well. So you can give some users edit mode, some users view mode. It's really powerful feature, and the licensing plan of that is totally different, as I said. So we will talk about licensing separately in Q&A if you want to know more about that. Number 9 in the list is role-level security. Static and dynamic. Role-level security is one of the features that talks about after sharing content of Power BI with others, then you might want some of them to see different part of data, some of other users to see another part of data. So you secure your content. For example, I share a sales report within my company, but someone who is sales manager of California will see California data. Someone who is sales manager of Illinois will see Illinois data. So different people will see different result, but it is only one report. I'm not duplicating the report because maintenance cost of that is high. So I'm just creating one report with multiple roles. How that works, I'll show you the Power BI desktop example for that. This is a Power BI desktop example, which has a very simple data set, sales by every country. And I have created a role here in modeling manage roles. I have created 2 roles. One role for US. This role is saying that this role has access to everything that country is United States. Another role is for Europe. This has access to everything that their group is Europe. So I've created this, saved it, and published it in my workspace. Then I see this RLS report in my workspace. This is the dashboard on top of it, and the report and the data set. So I want to configure who has access to which role. For that, I can find the report related to this. So I will click on this, view related items. I'll go to my dataset. In my dataset security section, I have both these roles, and I can add users to this role. So I can add my other account to this role. Now, if from the other account that I have, this is another account, if I go to shared with me section, I will see this RLS report shared with me. When I click on it, I will be able to see only Europe's countries' sales. The actual report here was all countries, so I'll show you the difference. So this is the actual report showing all countries, including United States, Canada, and Australia. But this one only shows UK, Germany, and France, because this role only has access to this. If, as a person who managing this security, if I go and add that user into another role as well, if I add that user into US Sales Manager as well, then with the next refresh, this user will see US data as well. So now you can see that United States is also added to UK, Germany, and France. So it's full governance around this way of security. So never create multiple reports to share with others. Just create one report, define security on that. This is the best way of defining security through the sharing. This way of security called role-level security. There is another way of creating security that is called dynamic role-level security. This was static role-level security, that is dynamic role-level security. I have written a blog post about both of these methods, all in details from the beginning to the end. Dynamic role-level security works with a function called username function. Username function is a DAX function that returns the user who logged in. Then in your data model, when you have this user is assigned to this branch, then it will filter will propagate perfectly through that. So that was an example of role-level security. The last example, and then we have time for Q&A. Live analysis services connection is another great feature of Power BI. There are many companies who already have cubes built or analysis services tabular models built in SQL Server. They might have already defined role-level security through that. they have already probably used a lot of DAX code or MBX code, and they might have quite big scale data set. So for those, one of the approaches that is highly recommended is using Power BI in this kind of scenario. So you can have your ETL scenario to load data to extract data from data sources, put in your data warehouse, process that into your analysis services model, then a Power BI connection to that analysis services model through live query. Live query is a little bit different from direct query. Live query, and Power BI will be only visualization part of the Power BI. Row-level security with this mode is automatically possible. How that works: when someone logs into Power BI, their account information will be passed through effective username of connection property to analysis services tabular, and analysis services tabular will check the access for that user, will pass only data for that user who has access to. This is the best case when this user and the local user, they are same account. If they are different accounts, like Power BI user and domain user are different, then you need to create a UPN mapping table, a table that has information of which Power BI account should be mapped to which domain user, and then this will be used for passing through effective username connection. So row-level security is all built-in, supported in analysis services live connection. Analysis services live connection doesn't have a Power Query in it, so you have to do all of your data transformations, calculations, DAX expressions in analysis services and other components beside that on premises. So that was number 10 in the list. So just wrap up before going to Q&A part. So in summary, I talked about these 10 features. As I said, I didn't explain how to do these things, but I have written blog posts exactly about every single one of these. From beginning to the end, you can see how it is working. I've talked about real-time dashboards, mobile reports, Power Query custom, and Power Query relationship columns, what if parameter in DAX. I'll talk about custom visuals, ArcGIS mapping Power BI, dynamic row-level security, live SSAS connection, Power BI app, and Power BI embed. And this is the link to access the Power BI book I mentioned for free, and also the blog of Power BI and Power BI community. Now I'm available if there is any questions.
I don't see questions posted by other people right at this moment, but I have a quick question. How would you tune the performance if the report renders slow?
So performance is quite wide topic to talk about. There are many reasons for performance. When we are talking about performance, it might be performance. It might be because of the size of the report. It might be because of the type of calculation we have created in DAX expressions. It might be somehow because of the Power Query transformation that we have done and will slow down the refresh side of things. So when we are talking about performance, there are many things that you have to consider. For example, you have to consider to bring only data tables that you need. From the data tables that you need, only bring columns that you need. So you might connect to a database that has hundreds of tables. Don't load all of those hundreds of tables in Power BI because these are all tables that you need. Instead of that, create a star schema, a model which is much simpler, only number of columns that you need, only tables that you need, with just few relationships, and then bring it in Power BI. Don't create every calculation in DAX. DAX is good for calculation, but there are many calculations that can be done in Power Query. So you might just switch some of those to be done in Power Query. Then those calculations will be done at the refresh time, not at the run time. And if there are some high cardinality columns like surrogate key and primary key in the fact table, date time columns attached to each other themselves, these are columns that are quite expensive in X velocity memory engine. So you have to consider those when you are doing performance tuning. So it's quite a wide topic to talk about, but these are main suggestions, I would say.
Thank you. Did you get my email about Rose's question? If we don't have any further question, maybe you can spend a few minutes and explain what she.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Sarah. I'm sorry. They have two questions there. I paused already.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me look at the question first. I can see a question from Parisa. What is the difference between Power BI reports and SSRS reports? Power BI reports are mainly interactive reports. So as you have seen, I could click on a chart and it will highlight other charts. I can change the filter slicer. It will dynamically change everything. It is quite dynamic in the nature. And it is best for slicing and dicing and self-service type of features as well. Reporting services reports, on the other hand side, can also have a lot of charts and things like that. But the main power for reporting services is ability to print. Power BI isn't built for printing. Power BI is good for slicing and dicing, for interactivity. For printing, still SSRS reports are perfect. Because you can design your print area. You can say this is page A3, A4, it's landscape design, it's portrait mode. I want this part to be my page header, this part to be my page footer, my report header, my report footer. You can have paginated reports. So totally separate things. I always recommend having both of these components in your reporting solutions, because you have some users who want reports as a printed option, some users who want reports as a self-service interactive mode. So you have to use Power BI and reporting services beside each other, not as a replacement of each other.
And
okay.
I have the other questions.
Yes.
From Erica Jean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at that. So let me make this bigger so I can see the whole question. Okay, Erica Jean, I tried to calculate series this year versus last year or running total. I first create total sales measure, then you used same previous period function to create last year. DAX formula is like that. If I slice measure with day, then I could get correct data, but if I slice measure with the month, then it is not right. I would suggest you using same period last year function. If you are comparing this year with last year, there's a function called same period last year. You can calculate the total of sales through that same period last year. And same period last year works if you are in a day level. It will show you exactly same day last year. If you are in a month level, it will work on a month level, on a quarter level, or week level. It will work on all of these levels. It is called same period last year. Basically, that will work perfectly fine.
Okay, just coming in other questions.
Yeah, another question is that, is it possible to embed an interactive dashboard into a HTML web page? In that case, how the dashboard connects database? So I would answer it in this way. Dashboards are not interactive elements. In Power BI, we have dashboards and we have reports. Dashboards are not interactive. Reports, however, are interactive. So, so for example, let me show you. So if I go to my workspace, look at one of these reports that I have here. So this is a dashboard. Dashboard is not interactive. If I click on a chart here, it will go to the report. Report, however, is interactive. When I click on it, it will highlight. When I change a slicer, so report is interactive component of Power BI. Okay. So now, can I embed a report into a web application? Yes, of course. Exactly similar to what I've showed you. So this is a report which is interactive, and it is embedded into a web application. It is connecting to a database through exactly what the Power BI connects. So your Power BI connected to the database, probably is it through one of the ways. It might be import data, then you schedule it to refresh, or it might be direct query. it works with all of these. Previously, about 4 or 5 months ago, if you wanted to have Power BI reports embedded into a page, direct query was the only option with Azure SQL database. But now, every types of data source connection is possible. So if you have import data, you will schedule it. If you have direct query, it will work with direct query. It will work with all types of data sources.
So another question, will the slide deck be shared with the attendees?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I can send it to you, and then you can share it with others. If that works.
Yes, yeah. I can, once I get your slide deck, I'll post it on our website and send out the email notification to the entire to the people
Yep.
who register for the event.
Yeah,
Okay.
and now that we have questions by Rose Ling, she have the report need help.
Yeah. So can we have Rose?
Rose, can you? Yeah. Can you please raise your hand so we can?
Yeah, I unmute her already.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a report. I need to calculate through the matrix report. I have to make some average or some percentage across the columns.
Yes.
And if I use matrix and it doesn't give me only single column there, and it will give me each column under in a group, a parent group on top. And I use another way to do it because, but I want it dynamic. If I show my screen and I can explain better.
Yeah, probably if I don't know if we can make.
Yeah, I'm going to turn the screen to Rose. Rose, can you accept it?
Yeah, I accept it. Can you?
Okay, go ahead. We can see your screen already.
Oh, can you see anything there?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Just one thing before you explain. Your Power BI desktop version seems to be very old.
Oh, you mean old? I just updated today. What do you mean?
Older version.
It is a very old version of Power BI Desktop. Can you open Power BI Desktop again?
Okay, I just updated today. I close it. Can you see my screen?
Your screen right now, yeah, shows document 1.
You want
I still don't see your Power BI report. I just see your folder.
Can you see now?
I see your folder which has V1 demo. Oh, yeah, it seems that it is bringing something.
And it will be this screen. I just didn't know which. I have 2 monitors here.
Yeah.
The version. So it's here.
Okay, I can see your Power BI desktop now.
It was like this before, but maybe I didn't show it on the right screen. So can you see which version it is?
Yeah, I can see it now. So what you want to achieve with you cannot?
Oh yeah, I show you the mockup for this task.
Yeah.
This is the goal I want to achieve. When I have those those are some accounts for member, consumer, or something. And I want to make average here.
Yeah.
And I want the calendar quarters here on top.
Yep.
And this is some categories here. And first of all, I created by matrix report. It's down here. I created this way. But
okay,
if I want to add average, and I got something, just I have an average under this quarter, each column, and it's kind of here under this, and there's a count and average and count and average. I don't want that way. I want it this way.
Yeah, I understand. So it is not as flexible as Excel in terms of creating a matrix style. When you bring that average, as you mentioned, it will cut that because it will consider every section as a category and subcategory of that separately. The only way, if you want to have such thing, is to put it in a table. Then in a table,
so
separately, yeah.
Yeah, I put on this table, and so it's this way. But I wanted a dynamic because this report have to run daily, and besides, if there's you see, when I do this average, I only can do this way. If there's 4 quarters, but so far my data only have 3 quarters data. If there's a 4, and this won't work, then how to make it dynamic?
Right. Okay. In that case, I would say create an average index measure, but instead of saying add financial year 2016, Q1, Q2, Q3, instead of doing that, you can simply say add all of financial year 2016 altogether. Then create average.
Do you have any idea how to write it? Yes.
So that depends on your model, how your model is structured. So I can see that you have 3 calculations for financial year Q1, Q2, Q3. Is that calculations or these are columns? Q1, Q2, Q3.
They are just this column and this column. I did it by the when I import the data, and I already make them there. I already made those numbers. I mean, I already calculated those fields, and I pivot.
So you have calculated. So if you have calculated this, then you have also to create a calculation for Q4 as well, and this be combination of those together. Whenever your Q4 comes in, then you will have the result of all of 4. If it is not, then it will be just your current 3 quarters.
So it's no way to do, right? I mean, just after it's pivot. After it's pivoted and how to calculate, within the row, you want to calculate. Like I want to get a total like this by the end, but I still cannot get it.
You want depends on the columns that you put on a row. This shows you the average of that row. Is that what you are after?
I can do this way. Still not a dynamic. You see, I got this one. It's like a very dummy way to add it. I get
So every calculation you put in a DAX, it should be written specifically for that specific scenario. You cannot say that based on dynamic adding columns in your report, all of calculations change dynamically as well. This is not the way that Power BI actually works. Power BI needs calculation specifically for every single column.
Is it Is it possible? Sorry to interrupt. The
Yep.
table on the top. So as Reza mentioned earlier, you put all the 4 quarters in there, and then just do a calculation. If the data for the fourth quarter is not available, it won't show. So
Yeah, I think about it. I also don't know how to do it because this is the data source I just put on Excel, and I think how can I do that? I just add for quarter 4 here, but with the no data because it is not really no data, and but it didn't show in the table when I put in the.
what if you put 0?
Okay, I put all 0 there.
Yeah, and I can see that your data set is quite high level data set. It would be easier because you are doing those calculations in Excel, then bringing those in here as a source. It would be easier just to connect to whatever detailed data set you already have. This will aggregate them in a quarter level, and it will show you that. So that would be the way that I would do it if I
But
if I.
this report need to be dynamic because I need like this and with a different category or some other situation. I need 40. I
Yes,
need
yes,
each
that's
page. I
correct.
need to apply. I cannot calculate them all here. Uh, I mean, if I calculate here, when
So
the
what
data change.
what I'm saying instead is that just bring your transactions data here, have a date table related to your transaction data. In your date table, you can have fiscal year, fiscal
Yes.
quarter, slice and dice by fiscal quarter. It will bring them all. But in this way of building the model, you are quite static. You cannot do much things with this.
So my manager want to show me any reason we use Power BI. We are facing the decision, so I try to make some demo to show him and why
Yeah.
we use Power BI, but seems we can't do much because when we do report, we need to dynamic create those, and I also need some other columns. I have no way to create percentage. If I want to create a percentage here, I want to add a percentage here.
Yeah.
I want to, this percentage should be this one divided by this one.
Okay, so
And
then we have to write the
can I,
calculation for this percentage.
uh,
Then you have to write that calculation for this percentage. Have you already these together for percentage or not? How you calculated percentage?
I did it here and why it's not working. I tried to sum this.
So,
How can I?
so my understanding is that you need to have quite a bit of information on DAX. For example, I understand that you haven't put so much difference between DAX calculated columns and DAX measures. For majority of these expression, you can do that with DAX measures, but you have done these with DAX calculated columns, which is not the right way of doing that. So I would say watching some DAX introduction videos should be quite helpful for you.
I did this sum. I did this measure.
Yeah.
I did this. This is sum. I sum this column, but I cannot get this number. How can I get this number?
So that percentage that you calculated, where that is coming from, is that right calculation or now or not?
No, this is, I want to get this number so I can use this number to do this calculation. I want to use this number to, I want to use, here I want to use this number, and here I want to use this number. And you see this measure I created here.
So you want the grand total of those?
Yes, and this is the calculation I did for this number, but I didn't get this number. I only get this number in the end.
So what you want the number to be divided by that 16,000. So you want, for example,
Yes,
13 to be divided by 16,000, correct?
Yes. How can I get this number measure?
So you can change that sum x of temp1 to be sum x of all of temp1 to give you the whole of that column, all of temp1.
You mean take this off? But
No, just don't take it off. Just write all before that. Before temp1, write all.
Write all here?
All, yes.
Oh.
All, open bracket,
Oh.
temp1, after temp1, close bracket.
After this here?
After this bracket, yeah.
Oh.
So this will give you that number. As I said, these are some stuff that if you write some basics of DAX, you will see some examples of that. And you don't have
to. See this.
Okay, I think we are already past or.
Yeah, and we have the other. I'm sorry. Just one more questions by Erica. Erica, can you speak because you have questions?
Yes. Thank you for your explain that you earlier. But actually, that I am using the same period last year function to to generate the last year sales, and I also using the the DAX function, the total year to date that to calculate the running total. And as I said that if I just bring like a single day, individual single day, for example, to January 1st, 2015, and then January 2nd, 2015, and continue on this way, and then I could get like that day's sale, and also like for example the January 1st, 2014 sales. But if I sums like a year or like a quarter or months, for example, if like I want to do like a 2014 and 2015 total sale, and then that won't work. So I don't know what's the problem that.
Yeah, so I will explain to you what to do. So same period last year, I'm writing an expression for you that you could use. So two different expressions. I'm writing to you one by one. That's one.
Right, I'm changing the screen back
screen.
to you so that you can show her.
I'm just typing it in a chat window.
Oh,
so
okay.
So I've typed two separate calculation in chat window. You could use any of these to calculate that. So this should be giving you that what you expect. In one of those, I just went to granularity of a date. So if you be in a month level, it will also show you calculation. In the other one, I just said that for this calculation, consider all date dimension itself.
Yeah, so the fact table that the date key is an integer, and so I the date dimension the date ID also is integer. So I use this like a date key ID that to connect. But in my date table, din date table, I still have a full day that like a calendar day. So
yes, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. This method should work with your current date dimension, which you are explaining already.
Oh, I should use all day. Oh, all day maybe. That's why I didn't use that all. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you everyone for joining.
Cool. Thank you so much, Reza, and thank you everybody for attending. Reza, once you send me the slides, I'll post it on our website.
I've already sent it to you. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, everybody. And thank you so much, Reza, for the great presentation.
Thank you.
We'll stop here. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.